Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday weekend. I know I did. I'm a little tired. But nevertheless, I am here because I watched the latest episode of Sister Wives. I didn't think we were going to get an episode this weekend because of the holiday. It fell right after Christmas. But alas, they gave it to us and it was a pretty good episode because we have some real conflict. Maybe I shouldn't say that because there's real conflict going on between Cody and Christine, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So we are here to recap Sister Wives. This is episode 6, No Head Wife. So let's jump into the episode. It opened with Cody going to visit Christine to check on Isabel. Christine says that they've just gotten back from New Jersey. So we can imagine that this is maybe week 3 for Isabel since she's been out of the hospital. And she shares with Cody and the viewers that Isabel's struggling. She's still in a lot of pain. She's in a lot of discomfort. She's like at the peak of rehabilitate. Her body is healing itself. She went through a serious surgery, and there are days where she's really happy she got the surgery and days where she wishes she hadn't. I think it's been a year now since, and I imagine she's doing much better, and I imagine today feeling better. She's glad she got it. It's just you have to go through it, and it must be hard to watch. So she lets Cody know about that, and then she also, doesn't miss the opportunity to sort of, dig that knife in deeper into Cody and twist it a little bit when she says that Isabel was just really devastated that Cody couldn't be there for the surgery. She was fine. She was fine without having him there. She could totally handle it all, but it really affected Isabel. And you could see, I think Cody has some regrets, because Christine goes on to twist it even a little more when she tells him that the doctor was shocked when he learned Cody wasn't there. When he asked where he was and Christine said, "Oh no, it's just me, he couldn't make it," the doctor couldn't believe Cody wasn't there. And like I said, Cody, you could tell by the look on his face, I think he's sorry that he didn't go. I feel like it's one of those situations where, when something comes up, like a party. I mean, I'm making light of this example because I don't think Cody lightly just didn't want to go. It was because of COVID, he says. But sometimes something comes up like a party or an event, you're just like, oh, I don't really feel like going. And then later when it's over, you look back and you wonder like, why didn't I just go? I should have probably went. It would have been meaningful to the person who invited. Maybe that's a bad example, but I feel like he regrets not being there. And he's sharing with Christine that he just hopes that later on down the line, Isabel won't resent him for not being there. Only time will tell. Anyway, Cody says that now that Christine and the girls are back, maybe they can sort of quasi-quarantine and follow his rules so that he can start coming around more. And Christine sort of objects to that idea because she says for them to follow all these rules that he has, which we don't even really know what they are yet, it would be a lot when the payoff is just seeing Cody once, maybe twice a week. It's just not enough because right now, the friends and family they're visiting and getting together with, they can spend more time with, and those people want to spend more time with them, and that's what they would rather do. They'd rather just live their own life than sort of be in this prison only to see Cody a couple days. And Cody argues, no, I come around more. I'm here, 3 or 4 days. And Christine says, no, you're not. Yes, he is. No, you're not. Yes, you. They don't agree. And she just throws her hands up like, okay, whatever, Cody, it's semantics. And she tells us in her confessional that when Cody does come around, it's not real quality times. He shows up unannounced at 5 p.m. to have dinner, be on his phone the whole time, watch a movie, and then he takes off the next day before the girls even wake up. And so it's not even real time that he's giving to her and her kids specifically. He's out there. She doesn't know what he's doing, but he ain't with her. Cody says that pre-COVID, the rotation was 2 nights with every wife. So it was 2 nights with Christine, then 2 nights with Janelle, then 2 nighs with Robin. And Mary, she's not on the rotation, he says, because they're not together in that way. They are in a state of friendship. But I'm like, damn, that's way harsh because she doesn't even get the 7th night as a friend. I'm not saying you have to spend the night, but you can't go over as a friend and watch a movie with her. I'm not saying you got to cuddle or share a meal. You're a friend. It's really, I look at them because I think he still considers her a wife. She still considers him a husband, but he's fully abandoned her emotionally, physically. And I know that they're already legally divorced, But if they weren't, she could file for divorce on grounds of abandonment because he's not there at all and doesn't even see a problem. Now, I know he says that he's let her know where he stands, and I couldn't live. I couldn't live that way because she's still presenting this idea that she's waiting for him to come around and someday he will. He's not, but I think we've talked about that enough. So Cody's upset because he feels like they're not choosing him. They're choosing other people, and that's hurtful to him. And yeah, I can see that. But here's where Christine brings up the fact that we've all sort of been like, this is what we've been waiting for. She brings up to Cody, hey, I know you and Robin have a nanny. So what is it that, how is it that she's allowed to come and go into your house, but Isabel can't? Isabel's dying to spend time with her siblings, and she's devastated that she can't. I would say she's pissed. Maybe insulted. I'd be insulted if I was one of your children and I wasn't allowed access into your home, but some strange nanny is. Yeah, make it make sense. And you can tell, I don't think Cody was ready for her to bring this up. And I don't even think it was ever intended to be brought up in the show because nobody's ever mentioned a nanny. But at this point, Christine is fine to just spill all the tea. And even in his confessional, when they bring the nanny up, Cody's kind of tripping over his words saying, well, me and Robin, we hired what we call a nanny, and she comes around to help Robin out and to help teach the kids, I guess, schooling. But when we all saw we saw Christine ask, what does the nanny do? It was more so not what does she do in the house, how does she help out? It was more of what does she do that makes it okay for her to go in and out of your house and we can't? What rules and guidelines is she following that makes it okay? Let us know. And she tells Cody, what is it she's doing? Let us know so maybe we can do the same thing and we can get back together as a family because they're falling apart. Everybody says it. In the beginning when the episode first opened, they went around to all the wives in their confessionals and they all agree their family structure, their family dynamic, their family, it's falling apart and it's not getting any better. And they're even concerned that the longer this goes on, it might be impossible to come back together. Cody, like I mentioned, I don't think was ready for this conversation, was ready for his life to be put on blast this way. And he sort of just shuts down as, well, tells Christine, well, she follows all the rules that we have, like to a T, everything we ask, she does. So that's why it's okay for her. Now, this whole nanny thing, I know that Robin mostly, even though this is Cody and Robin's nanny, Robin's really been getting the hit on why does she need a nanny? She has older kids that are there to help out. And who am I to say? I think about my sister who has 2 young daughters when the start of the pandemic happened and they had to stay home from school, and suddenly my sister sort of had to become the teacher and figure things out. It was a lot, and she probably would have liked to have had some help. I don't think she would have denied it. But also, when we're supposed to stay in a bubble and not really interact with people other than those in our house, it is hard to justify having a nanny. But I'm not going to condemn Robin for doing it. People do it all the time. Wealthy, affluent people, moms who'd rather go out to lunch and shop and have the nannies raised. It happens all the time. And I'm not here to judge that. I think the point that Christine is trying to make is how come it's okay for this nanny to come and go, but we can't? We're your family. And also, at this point, they're 6-7 months into the whole panorama because Cody's telling Christine, these are the rules we've agreed to. These are the rules we set. And she's saying, well, maybe we can circle back and reassess these rules. Things have changed. Things are different a little bit. And maybe it's worth a conversation. Cody, he okay, fine. Yeah, like I said, he wants to get out of there. I don't think he's ready or prepared to discuss the nannies. So he tells her, okay, well, we'll get everybody together, the wives, himself. He'll have the rules so it can all be clear what exactly the nanny is doing, and they can talk about the holidays and settling that up. And he's just like, well, I gotta go. I'm out of here. See you later. Bye. He just pretty much runs off, and Christine's just like, okay, bye. Nice chat, nice, real good talk. She's over it. So before the big meetup with the wives and Cody, we get this segment where McKelty and her husband Tony have come to Flagstaff so they can do a gender reveal. I don't know, would you call it a party get together? Christine says that they are staying in a hotel and only really interacting. By interacting, I mean close proximity and not social distancing with her kids. But everybody else has come to Christine's house. They're all distancing. Cody makes sure to keep his mask on, just to, you know, remind everybody that this is a safety thing. When they're outside and they're distancing, there's really no need for it. He agrees, but he's got to, you know, stick to his guns. So the topic of home birth comes up because McKelty says she would really like to do a home birth. Tony's a little weary of that because I guess in his family they don't really do home births. All the wives are pro home birth. They've all, at some point, some of them have at least, well, you know, Mary says that she had a home birth with Mariah. I think Christine said she had all home births except with Truly, which was her last daughter. And I think Janelle was like split, like half were at home and half were in a hospital. I think Robin, I don't know if all of hers were home births, but we know her last few were. I think it's a personal decision. I'm a real modern kind of gal. I'm all for modern medicines and technologies, and I would just personally feel more comfortable in a hospital, but that's just me. And that's maybe where Tony's coming from. I don't know. Did she end up doing a home birth? If you guys know, let me know. Somebody, a commenter a few weeks ago, very kindly let me know that McKelty did indeed have a daughter, and they named her Avalon, which was the name they said they would name it if it was a girl. But we're not supposed to know this yet. So McKelty and Tony, the way they're going to reveal, they're going to make elephant toothpaste, which is some sort of chemical concoction that they mix together, and when mixed, it'll either turn blue or pink. And I'm like, well, this is fun. It's better than, you know, shooting off pink or blue fireworks and setting the forest on fire, which has happened quite a few times if you watch the news. I'm down for this. Nobody's seen it done this way in the family. Everybody's there, everybody's excited, but apparently they did not mix enough of the correct pink color, because when it starts bubbling over, this frothy concoction, it looks at first to me like a light yellow lemon meringue, and then it turns into sort of this yeasty orange color, and everybody's just like, what does that mean? If it's not, what is that color? And they start laughing and say, oh, we must not mixed in the right color. So just in case it didn't come off the way they wanted to, they had a backup plan, and that was Christine jumping in front of, you know, the bubbling over bucket, and she opens up her sweater and reveals that McKelty is having a girl. Everybody's excited. This will now make 2 girl granddaughters and 1 boy grandson. It's just a happy family moment. It's not often that we get to see these kinds of moments with the Browns. And Christine just says that she loves watching McKelty and Tony, that they're just a perfect match. They really complement each other. They're great at communicating, and she knows that they're going to be fantastic parents. And I think this is just Christine looking at another marriage and realizing how it can be, how it could be if you have 2 people who want the same thing, you know, a happy marriage. And I mean, I can't speak to how Cody feels or Christine really feels. Who really knows, but I think just further, I think at this point, and I know I'm getting a little rambly here, I think at this point, I think she knows that it's over. I think she's biding her time, maybe trying to get her ducks in a row, figure out how she's gonna do this, and seeing a couple like McKelty and Tony just sort of reinforces that, how unhappy she is in her marriage and what she wants, and realizing she's not gonna get that with Cody, and it just, I think, it validates her feelings. So that was it. Congratulations to Tony and McKelty. I know they have their baby girl, Avalon, beautiful bundle of joy. I wish all their family the best. Okay, so the moment we've all been waiting for. Cody and the wives meet up at Mary so they can go over the nanny rules. So he hands them out to everybody and says, okay, these are the rules that I've created. And Mary looks over to Robin and says, oh, you mean like your rules that you made? And Robin is not amused, not even slightly. And Mary kind of just laughs it off, and then Robin, she shuts the shit down and says, wait, everybody, before we even get into these rules, I need you all to know that these are not my rules. These are Codys rules. Stop with the suspicion. Stop with the accusations. So Mary says, I'm so sorry. Like, it was a joke. I didn't mean it. And in Codys' confessional, he says that Mary wasn't joking. She was dead serious about that. But then when we cut back to them all meeting together and Mary's trying to apologize, Cody tells her, stop, Mary, don't apologize. Don't make this about you. And I thought, why is he being so harsh? Like, why can't Mary apologize if she thinks she's really hurt her friend's feelings? I'm confused. And Cody says, you know, Mary, this isn't about you. And he sort of explains that the reason for Robin's emotions, because she's getting emotional and she's almost on the verge of tears, is because she's been getting blamed a lot by some of the children in the family for making up these rules, which are not her rules. They're Cody's rules, and she's just been getting the brunt of it and the blame, and it's not fair. And Mary says in her confessional that she's disappointed that Cody would think that this wasn't, that she was being serious, because she loves Robin. Robin's her real friend. She's got Robin's back. She'll go to bat for Robin. So it really sucks that they don't know that about her. Cody doesn't anyway. Robin says in her confessional that she actually had one of the kids reach out to her on the phone and ask if maybe she can lighten up on these rules and loosen up so that the family can get together. And she told this child, who shall remain nameless, that these are not my rules. These are your dad's rules. Take it up with him. And also, you should know that your dad is a very strong personality and none of his wives run him. So, okay. Cody is really standing firm in the fact that these are his rules. So, okay then. I mean, I guess we need to ask ourselves, now let me say first, I don't have a favorite wife. I'm not team anybody, but I think we do have to ask ourselves, why are we all blaming Robin for these rules? Why are we assuming that she's the one that made them? So if Cody says that he's the one that made them, fine. We're going to go with that. I'm going to believe him. I'm going to believe Robin. So we start looking at these rules, and Janelle is perturbed because where did these rules come from? She's been asking for a list of rules from the jump, and all of a sudden they've appeared. And I think Cody just the night before was typing them out and trying to think of what else could it be. And the rules, when I looked at them, they weren't like super, they weren't super out of, you know, it was like, wear your mask, wash your hands, you know, change your clothes when you get home, when you've been out, no bars or gyms allow. You know, if you're gonna do a restaurant, it's got to be takeout. Do curbside pickup. I mean, nothing was like totally crazy, but he did have this rule about when you get the mail, you have to wipe it down in alcohol, and that seemed to be the one that really rubbed everybody the wrong way. And Janelle's like, wow, like this is crazy. Like nobody follows all these rules, because she's saying she follows state and local guidelines. She's careful. She's upset that they're acting like she doesn't follow the rules at all. So when she says nobody's really doing this, Cody, Robin's quick to chime in. I do. I've been doing it all for 7 months. And I think this is where the resentment comes in, and why maybe we look to Robin as the one behind all this, is because it kind of pits the wives against each other. Now, if Cody did make these rules, did he make them so, I can't think of the word I'm trying to look up, not egregious or complicated, or did he do it so much that it would feel impossible to the other wives to adhere to them? And also, he's saying these are the rules and Robin follows them. She's the only one that does. And it sort of sets, it's like this sort of classroom where, you know, Robin's the A student, Robin's the perfect student. What's wrong with all of you? Because Cody looks at all the other wives, sans Mary, because we know she doesn't count, as being disloyal. If they're not choosing him, they're choosing other people, that they're choosing their kids, and it's hurtful, and it's gonna, you know, affect their marriage later on down the road. But, you know, why are you blaming Robin? Because she's willing to do it. And Robin says she follows these rules so strictly because she can't be away from Cody for more than a few days. She doesn't want her kids to be away from Cody for more than a few days, and so she's willing to do whatever it takes. But you're also talking to a woman who's still, like, I would say, very, very much in love with her husband. And sometimes when you're so in love, you'll do anything to make it work. And where these other women, I think, are in different places in their marriages with Cody. And also in marriages, there should be compromise, and there's no real compromise. It's Codys rules or nothing. And he's telling them, well, the nanny follows these rules to a T. Well, you're also paying the nanny. This is the nanny's job, is to follow these rules. We're your family. There's a difference there. Anyway, I think I'm getting off. So Christine is looking at these rules, and she looks to Robin and says, okay, so if we follow these rules, does that mean we can get together for Christmas? And Cody interrupts and says, like, Christine, like, why are you looking at Robin? Like, why are you directing that to her? Like, Robin, I'm sorry, excuse me, are you the head of this household? And they're just like, okay, calm down. In his confessional, we get Cody sort of blowing up that he does not have a head wife. Some have tried in the past to take that position or be the head of the family, but they are not. He's his own man. He makes his own decisions. And I would argue that I don't really feel like, with all due respect to the Brown family, I don't feel like there is a real head in this family. I feel like they all do what they want to do. They all do their own thing. I mean, at least right now where we're at with this family. So they're looking at the rules, and Janelle says, well, this is tough because I have, grown children in the house. You can't control them in that way to maybe follow these rules. And this is where Cody's saying, well, they're adults, they're men, and so they should be able to figure it out and do their own thing. But these are also young men. And Janelle says that she loves Cody to death, but if you're asking her to choose between Cody and her children, she's going to choose her children. She's not going to kick them out. Again, I think maybe she didn't say it, but I think the idea is what Christine was mentioning earlier. You want me to kick my kids out so I can get a night with you? I don't know. Anyway, so Mary's being really quiet, and Robin looks to her and says, oh, what do you think? You're really quiet. And Mary says, well, this doesn't really pertain to me because Cody doesn't come around anyway. And also, I've been following all these rules. And she says in her confessional, if this is all it took for Cody to come around, she'll do it. She has no problem. And I think that's interesting because it's sad, again, not to keep harping on Mary and Cody's non-existent relationship, but you do have a wife here, Cody, who's willing to follow these rules to spend time with you, but you're just so over it. Why wouldn't you take this time? I see that's why he's so over it. Why wouldn't you take this time when you know she's following your rules to maybe spend some time with her? I mean, since you're not going to Christine or Janelle's because they're not adhering, and maybe work on your marriage. That's why he doesn't want to be with her anymore. And I think this is a bit of her acting, saying, oh, maybe he'll come around more. He's not coming around. Okay, we're done with that. So they're looking at the rules, and Christine says, okay, well, just to let you know, I'm not going to be here for Thanksgiving. That Aspen and Mitch, her oldest daughter, and her son-in-law have invited her to come to Thanksgiving. And they've also invited McKelty and Tony, who will be there, and Peyton, her son, is going to be there. And I imagine she'll take the girls with her. So it sounds like all of Christine's kids are getting together for Thanksgiving. And she feels bad, but she just needs to be with her family and celebrate this holiday all together, and maybe try to sort of forget what's going on in the world and just have a few hours of normalcy. But she'll take the rules, she'll pass them out to everybody so they can see what it is that it's going to take to get together for Christmas. Robin looks to Janelle. Okay, what about you? Are you going to be around for Thanksgiving? Janelle says no, she won't be here for Thanksgiving. I don't think she said where she was going, but my guess would be to visit with Maddie and her husband and family, probably take Savannah. I don't know if any of the boys are going to go with her, but so she won't be here either. But like Christine, she'll pass the rules around. She'll let them know what's up. And so nobody really asks Mary, Cody just says, well, I guess whoever's here will spend Thanksgiving together. That didn't really sound like an invitation, but anyway, so that was pretty much it. They'll come together again and reassess Christmas and whether or not they can all get on the same page with these rules. I don't think they're totally unreasonable, but Cody tells them, like, these are the rules. This is what I've set. You're gonna have to just take it on like it's a new religion and scripture and just overlay it on your life, and it's just the way it is. And I'm like, and like I mentioned earlier, it's like, where's the compromise in this marriage? Where's a little bit of, can we ease up maybe on this one or that one? Because I think Cody is just waiting for COVID to be gone, to just evaporate and not exist anymore. And I just don't think we live in that world. This is just, I think it's never going to go back to the way it was. And we have to find a way to navigate this new world. I know it's really cliche, and I just don't think it's realistic for him to expect his family to just quarantine themselves and lock themselves in their houses and just wait for him to come around. I think Christine's trying to find ways to live, and as is Janelle, but you know, Cody says that, you know, them questioning him is them undermining him, and Christine saying, I'm not trying to undermine you, I'm just, as your wife, I think I have a right to question your decision, and she does. And see, but that's that whole, I think that's his way of saying, you know, it's not a safe conversation, like, don't undermine me. Yeah, we need to talk, we need to communicate, and there's some communication breakdown, we're gonna get to that in a second, but anyway, they all say their goodbyes and go their separate ways, and I guess we'll see what happens when Christmas time rolls around. Like I've mentioned before, I don't follow any of them on social media, so I'm just gonna take their word that Christine was in Utah for Thanksgiving, and did Janelle go to North Carolina to be with Maddie, and did Mary get together with Robin and Cody for Thanksgiving, or did she spend it with Mariah? I don't know. If you guys know, let me know. So let's wrap this up. So the episode ended with this really confusing interaction with Mary and Robin. So everybody left, and Robin comes back to talk with Mary, and when she sees Mary, she can see that Mary's like on the verge of tears, and I think Mary's feelings are hurt and she's sad, and Robin apologizes and they hug each other. They sort of forget themselves for a moment, because remember, they're supposed to social distance, but not really, because during, I forgot to mention, the conversation with everybody, when Robin asked Mary, you know, what are you thinking? And Mary said, well, she said, I pretty much follow all these rules already. And so then Cody said, okay, then great. Then you guys can get together. You guys can visit. You can set up a play date. And Robin was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds great. So now when she comes back, Robin, to see Mary, and she sees Mary so upset and crying, they give each other a hug, and they both said they weren't even thinking. It was just like a natural to just hug each other and comfort each other. And Robin says, you know, she's going to leave it in God's hands. And I mean, I think Mary's safe. She quarantines all by herself. She doesn't go out. And here's the confusion. I feel like it could be so many different things. Mary looks to Robin and says, like, why haven't you reached out to me? Because if this list has existed, why didn't you send it to me and let me know this is what I had to do to come and visit you? Because she's very close to Robin's children in general, but I think specifically the last two, Ari and Solomon. And so why didn't you give me this list sooner so I would know what it would take to get together? And why didn't you reach out to me? And what's going on? And Robin is crying, but I feel like these are tears of relief, because I don't know exactly, like I said, I don't know what's, Robin tells Mary, well, because I was waiting, it was up to Cody. I was waiting for him to give me the go ahead, but I don't think that's necessarily true, because in her confessional, the next moment she says that, but you know, because I really don't think, and I feel like I'm all over the place because I'm just confused. I don't think these rules were set in stone, written on paper until like the night before this meeting. I think Cody had some rules, but they weren't, like I said, they weren't the 10 commandments of quarantining for Cody, what, you know, Janelle calls his 10 billion restrictions. So, because Robin says in her confessional that at one point, Cody told her, you're being really careful and safe. Mary's being careful and safe. You guys can get together. So he didn't say Mary's following the rules and you are too. He said just being safe. That's just sort of a general blanket. You guys are distancing and masking up and maybe doing curbside pickup. So yeah, but Robin says she didn't reach out to Mary and initiate a play date get together because of the optics of how it would look to everybody else. You know, what would they say, Janelle and Christine and the kids, if they saw Mary coming around and coming in and out, and how would that look? And that would look unfair. Well, not any more unfair than a nanny coming in and out. And I don't know if that's her trying to protect Cody, because it could be argued that maybe Cody doesn't want Mary around. Maybe Cody is uncomfortable with her being in their house when, you know, he's fine to only get together when they have to film a scene and he has to drive out there and have a one-on-one conversation. Otherwise, he's fine not to have to deal with Mary or see Mary. And so it's sort of this Robin's flip-flopping, saying, oh, it was Cody wasn't letting me and I was waiting, but no, but really Cody said we could, but I just didn't want it to look bad to others. So which is it? Robin? Which is it? I'm confused. And where exactly does Cody play into all this? Because Robin and Mary have a real friendship and they are close. And it would hurt my feelings too if I were Mary and you're my friend and you're not reaching out to me because Cody doesn't want me around. But then I guess it's complicated because, well, that's my husband. If he's not comfortable with you in my house, then I don't want to make him uncomfortable. It's complicated. These relationships can be complicated because Cody has relationships with each wife separate from each other, and the other wives aren't supposed to interfere or intervene or get involved. But we know Robin has tried to help mend Mary and Cody's relationships to no avail because I just think it's irreparable. And she says that it's obvious to her and the viewers that he's struggling in other relationships, namely, though she didn't name it, Christine. And when it gets bad, it starts to affect her relationship with Cody, and it must. I don't think it's just like with the other ones, the kids, like, and it's, I always say I try to be fair. I try to be balanced. I try to put myself in people's shoes. And so I do feel bad that Robin is just getting all the hits when that might not be fair. Perhaps these really are Codys rules and she's getting blamed for it because she'll follow them and nobody else will. Well, that's what she wants to do. And you can do it too. Will he really come around if you adhere to them? Well, that remains to be seen. We would only know if they decided to do that. I don't know. So that was pretty much the episode. Robin said, well, we'll get together. I'll reach out. It's fine now. Like, it's going to be great. I just feel like I'm confused. I don't know what's really going on, why they've kept Mary away when she's been the one following these rules. Where do these rules come from? And like I said, maybe I don't know. I'm rambling. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think. Do you think these rules are ridiculous and crazy? Cody says they're just small chores that you can follow, no big deal. Or do you think he's being unreasonable? You let me know. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon for something. Bye.